Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna. So this is the first Bhagavatam class in the new temple. So I'm just giving the introduction, and Mahaman Prabhu, he will give the essence. As they say, leave the best for last. So I'm following that premise. So there was many beautiful verses, very instructive verses with purports in the 11th canto, chapter 27 of Bhagavatam. So I'm going to read, but the essential, I find the essential verse is verse number 15. But I'm going to read that verse, and then I will refer back to some other verses. They're just all this is very important for worshiping the deity. So this is 11th canto, 27th chapter, text number 15. Dyavya pasidher madhyaja yaga pati madhishvamayina bhaktasya chayata labdhair hridi bhavena chevahi. Translation, purport. One should worship me in my deity forms by offering the most excellent paraphernalia. But a devotee completely free from material desire may worship me with whatever he is able to obtain, and may even worship me within his heart with mental paraphernalia. Everyone can please repeat. One should worship me in my deity forms by offering the most excellent paraphernalia. But a devotee completely freed from material desire may worship me with whatever he is able to obtain, and may even worship me within his heart with mental paraphernalia. Purport. A devotee still troubled by material desire tends to see the world as an object of sense gratification. Such a neophyte devotee may misunderstand the Lord's supreme position and may even consider the Lord an object of his own enjoyment. Hence, the neophyte must offer opulent paraphernalia to the deity so that he may constantly remember that the deity is the supreme enjoyer and that he, the neophyte, is simply a worshiper and is actually meant for the deity's pleasure. In contrast, an advanced devotee, one fixed in Krishna consciousness, never forgets that the Supreme Lord is the actual enjoyer and controller of everything. The pure devotee offers his unalloyed love to the personality of Godhead, along with whatever paraphernalia is easily obtained. A Krishna conscious devotee does not waver in his devotion to Lord Krishna, and even with the simplest offering, he completely satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Vinatasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Vichaitanyamanovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakata Vayam Daratishva Parantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyarishatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this and so many other verses are very, very important. And especially this verse, because Krishna says, Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakta prayachati. So that verse in Bhagavad Gita is meant for two people. Someone who knows very little about devotional service, and therefore Krishna wants to enliven them. And then, so he allows that devotee to offer anything. And he says, I want your bhakti. And also to show that Krishna doesn't need anything. Krishna says in the beginning of the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Vakshami Kama Hita Kamyaya, that I'm speaking this for your benefit. I don't need any, I won't get any benefit. I'm speaking, so everything that Krishna is doing is for our benefit. And the other person who is applicable for is the advanced devotee. Because just like Sanatana Goswami, famous story where he is worshipping Madan Mohan in a tree, just in a little swing in a tree. And then the deity speaks to him and says, what do why are you not offering me more? You're just offering me dry chapatis. At least they could have some salt. I'm sorry, I don't have salt. Just be happy that you're getting something. I'm living in the fort. What can I do? So, of course, Krishna made an arrangement that a big barge of salt came ashore, and Krishna himself dislodged the boat, and he was so grateful. Not only he gave salt, but he built a temple for Madan Mohan. So just by offering these chapatis with love, such great love, Krishna arranged. So that's also a very instructive thing, that when one has that degree of love, just like in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, the story of the Brahmin who had no wealth. And so he read in one Shastra that you can offer mental paraphernalia, but that's not for everybody. Not that we are very lazy and thinking, oh, it's too much trouble buying all these things. Let me just offer mental jewelry and mental boga. No, we have to offer everything to Krishna, and the best. And that's why, actually, another verse, I think it's verse 18, it says, even very opulent presentations do not satisfy me if they are offered by non-devotees. But I am very pleased by any insignificant offering made by my loving devotees. So yeah, there's so if you're a loving devotee, but if you're a loving devotee, you won't want to offer something insignificant. Unless there's nothing else, you don't have anything else. And I am certainly most pleased when nice presentations of fragrant oil, incense, flowers, and palatable foods are offered with love. So we can reflect on Raghava Pandit. He showed us the essence. Now, certainly Raghava Pandit was not wealthy, but yet he would walk for miles and go to different marketplaces to find the best coconuts, the best bananas, the best mangoes. So concerned that the deity had the very best. So we can also convey to all of our members that when you buy some fruit for the deity, of course, if you don't have any financial means, you get what you can. But for those who do, that you can't say, oh, Patram Pushpan, that's what Krishna just wants a leaf. No, no. That's for someone who has nothing. But if you have something, then you offer the best. Raghava Pandit, his famous pastime, he got some coconuts, he trimmed them nicely, prepared them, but he had to go out before the offering, and he left them in a hidden place. And he came back, and he saw there were some footprints. And of course, it wasn't a concrete floor; it was a, nice Sattvic floor. But he thought he took the coconuts and threw them out. He said, somebody walked here, and the dust from their feet must have risen into the air and fallen on the coconut. Now, how many of us have this standard? No. Here in Delhi, we would never be able to offer anything because the air is so contaminated that everything, we wouldn't be able to offer anything to the Lord. So, of course, this may seem very extreme, but Lord Chaitanya, one of the 4 places where Lord Chaitanya always visits is whenever Raghava Pandit is offering to the deity. Whenever he's offering something to the deity, the Lord appears there. And he appears wherever Mother Sachi is cooking. And he appears whenever Advaita Charya is offering. And he appears wherever Nityananda Prabhu is dancing. Wherever. Mother Sachi. Anyway, that's another subject. But the point is that this is so important. Also, Shuklambar Brahmachari, when he was dancing in Kirtan in Srivas Thakur's house, he had just come from begging, and he had his begging bag and with chipped, broken, not even good chipped rice, bad quality chipped rice. Because the people in Navadvip were so greedy and miserable that these Vaishnava beggars, they're worshiping Krishna, they have no opulence. We worship Chandi. But since he's just a Vaishnava, I'll give him some bad quality rice. That's how much they respected the Vaishnavas. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing, and he went over and he put his hand in the bag. Just as in previous times with Sudam Brahman. And he took that rice. Shuklambar was actually Sudam Brahman in Chaitanya Lila. So again, he said, I always take your broken rice. And then Vrindavan Das Thakur says that one can offer the most expensive and opulent things, but if they're not offered with love, the Lord does not accept them. This is something we also have to correct in our temples. Many times we have restaurants, but we have a hired cook. So therefore, we're just giving vegetarian food. And one devotee said, we're offering it. You may offer it, but does Krishna accept it? That's another thing. So we have to find devotees. One devotee told me that devotees are not consistent. Well, I said, how much are you paying? And you can find a professional cook that will cook for a certain amount and they'll be steady. Maybe a devotee, you have to give a little more, but then you can offer it to Krishna. So anyway, that's also another subject. But the point is that Krishna accepts whatever we offer to him with love and devotion. Yome bhakta prayachati. That's what he's interested in. Not the ashnami prayatatmanaha. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna is so pleased with his devotee that even if he offers flowers, he eats them. Normally, Krishna would not eat flowers. But his devotee, when he offers flowers with love, then, and even when Vidura was offering bananas to Krishna, he was in such ecstatic love, he was throwing away the banana and offering the peel. And Krishna was eating it because of the love of his devotee. So this is a very, very important verse. Now, there's two verses. I just want to say something very quickly, because these are all such important verses. Anyone who's worshiping the deity, or anyone who comes to this temple to take advantage of the deity, should read this chapter very carefully of Bhagavatam, 27th chapter of the 11th canto. But this one verse, these two previous verses, the deity form of the Lord, who is the shelter of all living entities, can be established in two ways, temporarily or permanently. But a permanent deity, having been called, can never be sent away, my dear Uddhava. So this is very important. No, we can't just, oh, there was a nice opening ceremony, let me go, and then, afterwards, oh, I have no time. No, I have no time. No, the deity has come only for our benefit. And the earliest and the most that we can worship the deity by just coming and offering something nice for the deity. Rupa Goswami says, every time you come to the temple, you must bring some offering. Something you must bring. Unless you're a pure devotee, and then you can just offer your prayers. But if you're not so pure, then, and even if you're a pure devotee tries to offer something always to the deity, some flowers, some garland. But we should always bring something for the deity. Otherwise, as we just read, someone may, in our neophyte form, we may think, oh yeah, the deity, this is one of the functions, one of the Vedic functions. I go, I bow down, I do my mudras, and then I try to get something from the deity. The deity is the object of my pleasure. No. The deity is there to give me something. No. The deity is there to receive our worship, and he's already given us something in the form of the holy name. And so that's one. And then the next verse, very important verse. But there are movable forms, like Bal Gopal is considered a movable form. So for worshiping him, you can worship him, and then you can not worship him. No, worshiping is called avahana, and visarjana means you take away the word. I mean, you take away your obligation to worship. No. So there are some deities like that, or deities like in Govardhan Puja. Sometimes make deities with the the something from the cow or sand or paint. And those deities, you worship, you install them, so to speak, by prayer to worship them for a specific purpose, and then you ask the Lord to go away. But this is an important function. Not that we just, paint something or make something like a sandcastle and just, forget about it. No, you ask the Lord, otherwise it's not Krishna. So this is very important. So the next verse. The deity that is temporarily established can optionally be called forth and be sent away. But these two rituals should always be performed when the deity is traced upon the ground. Bathing should be done with water, except if the deity is made of clay, paint, or wood, in which cases thorough cleansing without water is enjoined, meaning Lord Jagannath, you clean him with a cloth. No? And you don't use water. The cloth can be a little damp for wood, but it should not be wet. But the important thing is that's mentioned in the purport, and I will conclude with this, is shalagram. You don't install shalagram because shalagram is already Krishna. Krishna is always there in the shalagram, which is why the shalagram Shila is a very important deity and recommended for householders, because shalagram is easy to worship. He doesn't require much, but what he does require is that you always worship him. even if you have one offering a day, or even if you just offer prayers every day, whatever you establish for the Shalagram, you have to do. It's not like today I can worship. Of course, some devotees, like Jagannath Das Babaji, he would wear a shalagram hanging from his neck. And many devotees do this. And he would worship all the time because he's always chanting the holy name. That was his offering to the shalagram. But if we have a shalagram, we should always be sure to worship the deity. Therefore, shalagram worship should be simple so that one can always maintain it, unless you have your shalagram on a permanent altar. But every other deity requires that we call the deity into the deity form. Now, Srila Prabhupada did say that anytime you see Krishna, Krishna is there. So why do we have this installation, Pran Pratishta, Netra Milana, all these things? We do it for our benefit. Krishna is everywhere. And if you're a pure devotee, if you're an Uttamadikar, you will see Krishna everywhere, and especially in his deity form. But so that we understand that the deity, there is a process by which we invite the deity to come into, invite Krishna to come into the deity form, or Radharani, so that we understand that Krishna is there. And therefore we invite him into the deity. And he may even leave the deity if we're not worshiping properly. Therefore, everyone was afraid of Abhiram Thakur, because he would go to different people's houses. And when he looked at the deity, if the deity was not being worshipped properly, the deity would crack, and sometimes fall into pieces. So everyone was afraid. They heard Abhiram's coming to my house. I hope that I'm doing good worship, because otherwise, no. And so Bobby wanted to come, everybody, no. And Abhiram. So, of course, we may not have anyone with those powers, but we should always think that let me worship the deity. Once we have a deity, whatever worship we establish for that deity, we should be consistent and always make sure that the deity is worshipped properly. So these are some thoughts I had on deity worship, and there's many more. And if you read this chapter, especially those who are pujaris, are going to do worship on the altar, they should read this chapter very carefully so that you have the right consciousness. Because everything we do, why did Srila Prabhupada call this movement Krishna consciousness? So that we're always conscious of Krishna. And the deity comes and allows himself to, Srila Prabhupada said one time, what does Krishna have to do in these cities? And he said, Krishna has no business here, but he comes only for the pleasure of his devotees. Otherwise, why does Krishna want to be in Delhi or anywhere? What to speak of, some city in the West where everybody's performing all kinds of sinful activities. Why does Krishna want to be there? He doesn't want to be there, but he wants to be where his devotee is. And therefore we should understand, if Krishna has come for me, and even for those who want to be very serious in devotional service, every morning Krishna comes from his eternal Leela at 4:30, and we should be there to greet him. No. I mean, there may be circumstances when we can't. And if we can't come to the temple, we should have a deity in our home, and we should be there to greet him in the morning. Not greet him at 8 in the morning, but at 4:35, when it's still Brahma Muhurta. That's when Krishna returns. He returns to his home so that Mother Yashoda, when he gets up, he's in his bed sleeping. And of course, he practically never sleeps, because He's always, in the daytime, he's with the cowherd boys, and the nighttime, he's with the gopis. So, but he pretends to be sleeping. Or sometimes he sleeps for the pleasure of his devotees. But he doesn't need to sleep. But when we worship the deity, we don't think that. Oh, he doesn't need to sleep. Therefore, I don't want to go through all this trouble of putting him to bed. You know, he's an eternal Atmaram. He's self-satisfied. I don't need to offer anything. We cannot think like that. So anyway, these are some thoughts I had.